Some detractors that will push back on me and say, you know, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. Budget director is a black woman. Senior advisor is a black man.
Let's keep in mind why they're doing this. We talk about it all the time. You guys talk about it all the time. It's for intimidation. It is to intimidate the president's critics into staying silent. And when you see ridiculous things like that in Chicago, folks can't help but rise up and speak out. I mean, people beyond Rev, like people who would normally not get involved in situations like this. The mayor of Chicago is showing the people of Chicago that he has a government that looks like their city.
Right.
That's all he's doing. And what's also equally what's offensive about why they're opening this investigation, so because these officials are black, they are not qualified to be in those positions?
And that is criminal. I mean, to act like it's criminal to make sure that everyone has representation is a threat to everyone. I talked to some ministers in Chicago last night that are not socially involved, that are outraged at this. I mean, what are you saying? He's not saying that we did this at the expense of others. He's showing pride.
Boy. So we got to talk about woke Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is facing a DOJ investigation over allegations of racism when it comes to hiring. Now, we talked about this yesterday as Brandon Johnson at a black church was bragging about how black his leadership in the city is, right? He was bragging about the fact that he hires more black people than anybody, okay? And the DOJ caught wind of this because in this interview, he made it very, very clear that he is hiring people, including giving out government contracts, aka taxpayer dollars, based off race, okay? That he is hiring primarily based off of race and giving out government money based off of race. And this is why the DOJ is opening up an investigation into him, right? A civil rights investigation, something that the race hustlers should agree with, except when that is weaponized against them, okay? Because let's be real, okay? If the roles were reversed, if you had a white mayor bragging about how white the city leadership is, as if that is an amazing thing, right? Oh, look at all this whiteness, okay? Look at all this... this milk, this vanilla leadership, right? Hey, I think that people would be boo-hoo-wilding and crying white supremacy, right? But if you got a black mayor that comes out here talking about, look at all this chocolate, and then people just say, well, that's social justice, right? He's just making the leadership look like the demographics of the city, even though that's really not the case in this situation because black people overrepresented, which they never have a problem with, by the way, okay? But in a primarily white city, neighborhood, whatever, if you have a primarily white board, if the board is not quote unquote diverse enough, these people boo-hoo on and cry, right? So again, the hypocrisy is just stunning here. And he basically is being accused of racism, which I find to be hilarious because this guy is one of the #1 race hustlers in the country. And now that card has been played on him and he's lashing out about it because again, he's under DOJ investigation for civil rights violation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Mayor Johnson, Brandon Johnson, lashing out over this.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is fighting back against the Department of Justice investigation today.
The mayor unapologetic about the city's hiring practices despite DOJ claims that they might show a pattern of racial discrimination. Political reporter Paris Schutz has the latest on this. Paris?
Yes, Sylvia and Terrence, not only unapologetic, but Mayor Johnson turning the tables today on Trump and the DOJ, one day after the Department of Justice announced its civil rights investigation into the city's hiring practices. The mayor says, before you accuse me, take a look at yourself.
The mayor says he's not surprised by the sudden investigation launched by the DOJ, just one day after comments he made at a Southside church. Johnson says the Trump administration ought to look in the mirror.
You would be hard-pressed to find qualified individuals who are in his administration. You know, as my administration reflects the country, it reflects the city. His administration reflects the country club.
Johnson
really? Is that really true? Again, these people make me sick, bruh. My administration reflects the country. Well, 13% of the country is black. 30 to 40% of the people you're hiring in Chicago in leadership are black. So black people overrepresented. Okay, it does not reflect the country. It doesn't even reflect the city because, again, black people overrepresented. Okay. Furthermore, I don't know why he's trying to say, well, look at the Trump administration, who they're hiring, right? It's like, well, the Trump administration, you can say whatever you want about who Trump has hired, but he's not hiring based off skin color, right? Clearly, he's not coming out here and bragging about, oh, look at all these whites in my administration, right? My beautiful white administration, right? Like, he's not doing that. But that's what you're doing, okay? You are specifically referring to race when it comes to your hiring practices. So I don't understand this whole whataboutism thing. Well, what about the Trump administration? What about who he's hiring? And it's like, he's not the one coming out here bragging about hiring people based on race. Again, you can say whatever you want about who he's hired, but, you know, hey, President Trump actually has a pretty ideologically diverse cabinet, okay? He actually has the most diverse cabinet that we've seen in a long, long, long time when we talk about President of the United States. And that's what actually really matters, right? More so than racial diversity, ideological diversity, which is what President Trump has in his cabinet. He has what actual diversity should be, okay? What Brandon Johnson has is a diversity of faces, right? But not a diversity of thinking, which is part of the reason why his administration is such a clown show, why his approval rating is sub 10%, according to some polls.
Made the initial comments during a Sunday conversation with Southside pastor Byron Brazier, commending himself for hiring African Americans to top city positions.
Having people in my administration that will look out for the interest of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interest of black folks, because that hasn't happened. That's how we ensure long-term sustainable growth.
Today, the mayor touted the diversity of his administration, where 34% of the hires are black, 30% white, and 24% Latino.
Apparently, according to Brandon Johnson, this is what the country looks like. Right? The country is 34% black, 30% white. This is what they wish, right? This is what they say when they say, well, my administration looks like the country, right? What they're saying is that my administration looks the way I wish the country was, right? What we actually want, right? Which is why they love illegal immigration, right? That's what they're actually really saying, okay? That's what they're saying. So, yeah, I mean, again, if the shoe was on the other foot, right, these people will be upset, right, about this type of stuff, what this dude is doing right now.
The incredible diverse talent that we have within our administration that continues to lead us towards the safest, most affordable big city in America. We're not going to shy away or apologize for who we are.
IIT Kent College of Law professor Harold Krent says the mayor's comments don't provide much of a case for the DOJ, unless they can prove the mayor failed to hire more qualified people based on race.
The Department of Justice, to win, would ultimately have to determine that there was a pattern and practice of illegal discrimination in terms of hiring for positions within the city. I don't think they have close to that information now. If they get it, that's a different situation.
Well, I mean, that's what the investigation's for. That's what the investigation's for. And I guarantee you, a solid investigation probably can find some evidence of that, because there's absolutely zero way that the individuals that Brandon Johnson hired are the most qualified individuals. There's absolutely no way whatsoever, right? It's just not possible, okay? It's just not possible with the way he's hired, okay? It's just not possible. So I'm sure if the investigation is thorough, they're going to find something. But, you know, who knows what's going to come out of this?
And an investigation like this could lead to a consent decree where a federal monitor would police the hiring practices. And Sylvia, I want to update you on one story you talked about. They did just vote in the Public Safety Committee here to pass Alderman Hopkins' curfew ordinance. So as you mentioned, that's going to be taken up tomorrow, barring any political maneuvers at the last minute at the full City Council meeting. And we're reporting live from City Hall. Pair of shots. Sylvia.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, Brandon Johnson was grilled about the DOJ investigation into his racist hiring practices by one of the best journalists in the country, local journalist, William J. Kelly. Our boy, William J. Kelly, okay? He loaded up one of his patented questions to Brandon Johnson, and Brandon Johnson refused to answer. Take a look.
Want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist? Mayor Johnson.
Yeah.
Please turn the mic on. Thank you. Real Chicagoans woke up this morning relieved that the Department of Justice is finally investigating your race hustle. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I've heard a lot of race hustlers in my life, trust me, but they were usually marching around outside of City Hall, which is what makes this so embarrassing and dangerous. Very, very dangerous to the city of Chicago.
Okay, we need the question.
I'm more than happy to ask this question. It's long overdue. For over a year, real Chicagoans, white and black, have been telling me that your black power rhetoric is bringing the city backwards from a place that
we need the question.
Had overcome. You want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Well, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
You want that?
All right, we're going to go to the next one. Alice?
The next question, my follow-up question is a businessman, Robert Gomez, had his riverfront restaurant license yanked. You said that the reason you hire black people is because they're the most generous race on the planet. His riverfront restaurant license was yanked and given to a black restaurateur. That has, once again, reinforced the belief among real Chicagoans,
okay,
white and black and Mexican, that you are a racist. What do you say to those people?
Again, I reject the premise that somehow that your question has any legitimacy. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. We'll go to Alice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. I want you guys to understand, the wokest mayor in America, who's always boohoo whining and crying racism, right? Like, for example, he cried racism over the illegals being sent to Chicago, despite Chicago being a sanctuary city, so they're welcoming of illegals, but apparently they don't like when illegals get sent to them. He is now saying, well, it's illegitimate to ask me, am I a racist, right? After the DOJ opens up an investigation into his alleged racist hiring practices and also his vendor selection practices. Remember, this guy openly admitted that, when it comes to government contracts, he's selected based off race. He was bragging about giving government contracts to black people, right? And again, Brandon Johnson here has a shady pattern of behavior when it comes to who he selected, who's winning and losing in Chicago when it comes to business, right? And that question about the Chicago Riverwalk business is a legitimate question because the owner has spoken out about this, and the owner's not even white, right? He's like Latino, and he has some serious questions about, hey, what's going on here, right? What's going on with our license being yanked with no explanation and just being given to other people? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
And tonight, questions and from frustrations from a local business. It says it's being pushed out of the Riverwalk location with no explanation.
But now, after just 3 operating seasons, the owners of Beat Kitchen on the Riverwalk claim that the city has decided not to renew their contract. Jorge De Santiago from our sister station Telemundo joining us live tonight on what's at stake here and what the city is saying. Jorge?
Hey there, Alice, and today marks the deadline to submit new proposals for Riverwalk vendors, but the owners of Big Kitchen on the Riverwalk say their future has already been decided. While many of the vendors in this area are getting ready to reopen, they claim they have been left out. For 3 seasons, Big Kitchen on the Riverwalk served food, drinks, and city views to thousands of visitors. Now, owners say they're being forced to pack up and walk away, despite investing their money, time, and hard work.
Wow, what it meant for me. This is the most beautiful patio, and we created it. There was nothing in here.
Beat Kitchen operated under a 5-year contract, But owners say 2 of those years were lost to COVID-19 shutdowns. Since reopening, they've hired about 50 employees each season, operating April through November.
The City of Chicago's vendor selection practices are in need of a major overhaul.
So what was here when you guys first got here?
There was completely nothing here. This used to be a security office, and we were expected to turn this into a restaurant, something that would pass code.
What are you guys allowed to take? Are you guys going to be able to take the walk-in coolers?
No, absolutely. Nothing that you can see a screw onto a wall can be taken out.
According to city documents, the Riverwalk concession process is open to all vendors, with a focus on attracting minority and women-owned businesses. We reached out to City Hall and Mayor Brandon Johnson's office to ask why Beat Kitchen wasn't invited back. Here's their response.
I do know that there are a lot of conversations that are being had, not around just this issue, but businesses in general. We're happy to make sure that the person that leads this for me gets a response to you.
While the city promotes the Riverwalk as a space for all Chicagoans, the owners of Beat Kitchen say they're still waiting for answers.
Oh, I guess not knowing why. Why are we being replaced? Everybody else has been renewed, and we're the only Latinos.
By the way, the owners of Big Kitchen say they are not giving up and they plan to push back and they want answers because they feel they deserve it and their employees deserve that too. On the Riverwalk, Jorge de Santiago, NBC5 News. Now back to you guys in studio.
We know you'll.
Yeah, so who knows, right? Is Brandon Johnson discriminating against the Latinos too, right? That's what it sounds like to me, right? Well, hey, technically, some Latinos are white. So I'm just saying, who knows what's going on here? What I do know is that Brandon Johnson is a complete and total clown. I guarantee you, again, if the DOJ investigates this thoroughly, they will definitely find discrimination, right? I mean, it's in your face. He's admitting to it, so we know that that's what's happening. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, it's just funny to me when these people get accused of the things that they accuse everybody else of doing. Now they want to say, oh, this is not legitimate, right? It's not legitimate to ask about racist. But yeah, this is the same dude that accuses everybody else of being racist. He accused Trump of being racist, Governor Greg Abbott of being racist. Everybody's racist. But then when he gets caught, right, basically pushing racism in his own city, oh, now all of a sudden, again, it's illegitimate to ask questions about it. It's just funny how that works. These people make me sick, okay? They're the biggest hypocrites in the world. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.